find the recursive and explicit forms of the definition of the sequence 13, 8, 3, minus 2, minus 7, and so on. So looking at that sequence, it's an arithmetic sequence because every time you are subtracting 5 between terms. So if I subtract 5 from the term I'm on, it gets me to the next term. So, and this terminology is quite complicated. So for recursive, read that as a term-to-term rule. Term-to-term. e.g., the recursive definition, you say, well, where do you start from and how do you get from one term to the next? So recursive, and it's often also called inductive definition as well. So I'm going to say, well, A1, the first term equals 13. And then I'm going to say how I get from the current term to the next term. So I'm going to say an plus 1, so the next term equals the current term minus 5. So I subtract 5 to go from the current term to the next term. I could have also written that as an equals an minus 1 minus 5. Both forms would be perfectly acceptable. For the explicit definition, or the explicit form of the definition, read that as general term nth term. So we need an. So this is an arithmetic sequence with the first term of 13 and a common difference of minus 5. So an equals a1 plus n minus 1 times d. d is minus 5, a1 is 13, so an equals 13 plus n minus 1 times minus 5. So I'm going to expand that bracket, so it equals 13 minus 5n plus 5, and I'm just going to group the 13 and the 5, that would be 18, so an 18 minus 5n. Okay, so we have the recursive definition, which is where do you start from and how do you get from one term to the next. We have the explicit definition, which tells me if I know the term number, how do I work out the term. I wanted the 25th term of the sequence. A25 would be, it's much easier to use the explicit form than the recursive form. For the recursive form, I'm either going to have to use some programming on a calculator or I'm going to have to carry the sequence on for 25 terms. For the explicit form, you literally just substitute 25, so it equals 18 minus 5 times 25, or 5 25s are 125. So 18 minus 125, well 125 minus 18, or 25 minus 18 must be 7, so 125 minus 18 must be 107, so 18 minus 125 must be minus 107.